The game of games, game of the week, game of the year, game of the potential century here. Ohio State, Michigan. Line is at 3.5, over under 46.5. This is the game where the hardball suspension matters the most. This is the game where that penalty hurts Michigan the absolute most, because while he is able to help with the game script leading into this game, not being on the sidelines, not getting a feel for the game on the sidelines, and making those crucial decisions you have to make as a head coach of how aggressive you are. Do you go for it in this situation? Do you not go for it in this situation? The in-game adjustments, this is where it really matters. And I don't know if Moore is up for the task. I do wonder, though, because I was looking back at the language in the Big Ten's letter to Michigan, and this is how the disciplinary action reads. I've determined that following disciplinary action against the university is appropriate. Effective immediately, the university football team must compete without its head coach for the games remaining in the 2023 regular season. This disciplinary action shall not preclude the university or its football team from having its head coach attend practices or other football team activities other than the activities to which it applies. For clarity, the head football coach shall not be present at the game venue on the dates of the games to which the disciplinary action applies. My question is, does Harbaugh try to get some messages to the booth during the game? Because he's obviously going to be watching this. He'll probably be watching from the football facilities, which are not at the venue. There will be a delay, obviously, between the TV and what's happening in game. So he can't be like directing, run this play at this time type of thing. But if Moore is struggling with the overall feel of the game, is there a chance that they try to test this and maybe shoot a message to a guy in the booth? Because you can't have a cell phone on the sideline. That would be very obvious. But who's really checking the booth? Like, what's to say that there isn't some type of messaging system that they impose there where Harbaugh shoots off a message and goes, hey, I need Moore to be a little bit more aggressive here, to start thinking about going for it on fourth down, or to maybe not and be less aggressive in play calling, like the sort of vibes of the game. Like, I'm very interested in that because it's really just language. The clarity language is what strikes this opinion for me, because it's all about just him not being present at the venue for the game. What's to say that he's not communicating with the booth or something? So that would be a little interesting, because this is the area that I question Moore's ability. At some point, if Moore's going to be the guy to take over the program when Harbaugh eventually leaves, he's sort of got to figure it out in these spots, and you want to test that. And I don't know if you necessarily need to be concerned about that, but it was just something I thought about as I was breaking down this game. But let's talk about this game in general, because I think the ideas that I held coming into this game are shifting a little bit. I am really going to get roasted for my top 10 standings if Michigan doesn't pull this one out, because I've already factored in a loss for Ohio State in this one. But let's talk about Ohio State's offense versus the Michigan defense. Ohio State's offense is getting a lot better, and that is really due to Henderson really being able to step up, being healthier, and adding a real threat in the run game. I think there's a notion going around the offensive line's looking a little bit better. I don't know if I entirely buy that, because the competition has significantly stepped down. The two biggest kind of data points we have for this is the Notre Dame game and the Penn State game, and that offensive line did not look great. And this is a defensive front that I would argue is top 3 in the country in college football right now, like just behind Georgia. Like, this is a really good defensive front. They can rotate bodies in. They rotate 9 deep, I believe, right now, which is really impressive. So they're fresh. They can substitute a lot of guys in and get after you here. So, but Henderson's development is certainly something to be mindful of here. Obviously, Harrison's going to get a play or two here. I think Michigan's probably going to elect to roll coverage out to his side and say, hey, look, we know he's going to get a play or two, but we can't let him be the one that beats us here, because Michigan knows their greatest attribute is the shorter the field gets, the better that defense gets. And McCord has not shown that he has the arm talent to really succeed in throwing the ball into tight windows. So getting to the red zone could be very difficult to then convert. So what's the solution? I've been saying it for weeks. I'm going to say it again here. Cade Stover involvement is going to be a big-time determining factor, I think, in this game. The more Ohio State gets him involved, the more successful I think he is going to be. I mean, he's averaging a little over 14 yards per reception right now. This guy and the matchups problems he could create could be game-changing for Ohio State. And you also have to think Michigan is without its linebackers coach. So having him attack that middle, having him attack those linebackers could be crucial for Ohio State's ability to win this football game, move the ball offensively, and score. Like, I think he is sort of the X factor in this game. So I'm going to be really interested to see, one, if my theory is correct, and two, if they do try to use him more, does it lead to a lot more success? Because I do think they'll be able to contain Harrison a bit. He's going to get some plays here and there, but Cade Stover's the guy to get the ball to. The other part of this game then becomes, what does the Michigan offense look like against this defense? Because when there was a very legit theory that Ohio State was just a little too soft defensively to go against this Michigan program and the development they have really implemented, especially in the offensive line and the physicality they've played with. Like, their player development's been really fantastic the last couple years. And so they go out and I hire Jim Knowles. Phenomenal hire. The moment they hired him, we praised it on the show. We talked about how he's going to bring a toughness to this team, that his defenses are really well suited for this game specifically, but just the Big Ten in general, and that you give them a couple years and this defense is going to be rolling. It's year 2, and they're rolling. And so you've got this Michigan offense coming in here. I think there's been a mixture of, one, hiding some things back, and two, injuries taking effect into why they've looked poor these last couple of weeks. J.J. McCarthy's dealing with an injury now. We saw it a bit in the Penn State game. It really showed itself in the Maryland game. I think that's really significant because going into this game, I thought J.J. McCarthy's legs were going to sort of be a determining factor and game changer for the Michigan offense. Let's see if he can run the ball. If he can be a threat running the ball, that changes things dramatically for this Michigan offense positively. Because when you look in the pass game, Wilson's banged up. They say he's going to play. He's your best pass catcher. I don't really know what they offer offensively from there. While your run game has been good, if you look at just the stats, it hasn't been the most explosive compared to last year and the year before that. Sorry, I had to get a glass of water there. So using McCarthy's legs was really one of the reasons I liked Michigan. Heading into this game a couple weeks ago, I was like, Michigan's about to roll Ohio State. But the injuries are starting to add up for Michigan. Guys are banged up across the offensive line. Wilson, your so far best threat in the passing game, banged up. McCarthy's banged up. He was wincing in warmups for the Maryland game. He was, limited, and you could see he's kind of really inaccurate in that game, and that is sort of confirming our theory about the injury. So this is going to be really important. I think the one thing that also needs to be addressed, though, is that things have absolutely been simplified. One, because maybe Moore is a more conservative coach, but two, because they don't want to show anything to Ohio State. And the same thing for Ohio State, too. Like, these are two teams that every week are installing things for this game and holding things back that they're going to release in this game. We see it every single year. These two teams release things and do things in this game that we have not seen them do the entirety of the season because they're holding stuff back specifically for this game. And so it's why the overs have hit 9 of the last 10, I believe it is now. The 46 has been crushed in games. I think you have to go back to like 2016 for a score that fell under 46. But these defenses are very improved. Offensively, there's a lot of questions heading into this game, so I understand the 46. I'm not running to the window to try to bet it over here or an under necessarily. I'm going to see where this number goes because, once again, the public's going to have some say. If you want to bet Ohio State, I think there's a good chance this number rolls in your favor with the public. So it may be worth waiting here. If you're like me and are looking to bet Michigan, I'm going to kind of get out in front of it here and lay the 3.5. I'm a little nervous about it, but especially because hardball isn't there, and that could end up being pretty significant. But I have a lot more faith right now until I see proof of concept from Ohio State and just backing the Michigan side of this game. All right, let's talk about some other games here on the week.